everybody for being here, and especially Karen, our new AG for this year, who is going to start out and report some interesting things happening in the district and so forth, and what's happening. But before we do, Karen, maybe our master of I call him master of ceremonies, and our past E-Club president, Robin. I always ask Robin to let everybody know a little bit about what we're working on and what we've done, so you as the AG could have a little idea of what we've been doing this past Rotary year. So I'll send it over to Robin, and Robin can report a little bit about what we've done. And I think Ray, our treasurer, probably will be coming on, and he can give us a report. We like to do our committee reports. Unfortunately, not all our committee heads are on tonight. So Robin, I'll turn it over to you and tell us a little bit about what's going on in the E-Club.
Thank you. Well, we're still working on our refurbishment of the computer room in a school in Dominica that was destroyed during Hurricane Ivan. We're waiting for completion on the roof on the school, the computer equipment that we are supplying, 20 notebooks and big screen TV and ancillary equipment for the teacher, are all in Dominica. How we're working there is we did a scholarship for a high school student in Dominica last year, and we're doing it again this year. And it was her school that suffered the damage, so it was an appropriate fundraiser for us. We raised close to $14,000. Currently, we are working on S4TL. A past member passed away. Earl Halley was very involved in the S4TL program, and we used to contribute 50% of the cost of a student there, sharing with another club. And when he passed away, we thought it fitting to recognize his work by 100% paying for one student each year. And the current candidate there's a selection process, and that's ongoing currently. What else are we working on? We have been raising funds for Hurricane Michael in Panama City, and we have sent those funds to Mike Harden, who is on the call with us. His wife is a pastor at an Episcopal church, I think, correct me if that's wrong, in Panama City. And we figured that that would be a good source to distribute the funds to people who would be really needy over there. Those are the main things underway. Interestingly enough, today I had a phone conversation with a lady up in New York who is sometime into an audiologist or hearing, and she has been setting up programs in Africa and in Guatemala to have somebody that they can work with in those countries to provide a hearing service. So she has a bunch of audiologists apparently that are really very busy, and she thinks they would make good E-Club members. And she was inquiring about the possibility of membership of our club. I mentioned she wanted to know how much the dues were. So I said, well, $400 a year. We expect everyone to chip 100 in too. So she was kind of, oh. And I said, well, it used to be $60 a year, and we used to pass the hat for projects to allow us to do some good. And I explained it was the same 20% of the members that contributed, and the rest didn't. So we decided to raise the dues to 100 so that everybody would have a minimal participation in all the giving that we do. And if we had to raise or pass the hat again, it would be as an exception rather than the rule. What else is there? We've recently added 3 new members. One of them, Robin Schneider, who is the, is she the S4TL? No, she is.
No, she's CART. She's CART right now.
Yeah. And
she's wonderful.
Yeah, and Karen Mothersill, who was the RAI coordinator for Northern European countries, she had to relocate to Jamaica with her family, and the E-Club was a fit for her. And we have another lady up here in Fairhope, Alabama, who I met her at the last weekend, with two other people that are in Rotary Club over there. There are 3 clubs over there. And I think she's been in the 3 of them. But however, she was interested in the E-Club because she started to travel a lot. And that interest has developed now into possibly starting an E-Club over in the Fairhope area. And possibly an E-Club, I suggested that if they should restrict it to an area so that they could at least meet conveniently, maybe once a month or once a quarter, for that socialization that we don't have. So they were looking at that and they were happy with the advice I gave them, and I said I'd come back again. So those are most of the things, but you kind of caught me on the hop, Andy. The Christmas tree that we do, the Rotary Tree of Remembrance, an idea we got from Cork in Ireland, and we have done it for the last 5 years here. We went from 3,000 to 11,000, and last year down to 4,000 because they changed our location in the mall. The Cordova Club that I've been working with up here in Pensacola, we have 12 in the metro area, decided that they had done enough, and I was beginning to feel I had done enough as well. We've got another club to pick it up, so the tree will be continuing back in its old place in the mall. And of course, the fresh faces and fresh blood are bringing some new ideas that could prove that we'd be able to raise back up to the $11,000, $12,000 again. The tree that they have in Cork in Ireland generates about $70,000 in about 3 weeks, but it's in the Times Square of Cork City, a very busy place. Just trying to think what else we have on. That's it.
Thank you, Past President Robin. That was a very, very nice report. And Karen, one thing we're working on, I'm working with a local university in where I am in Boca Raton, Florida. We are interested in seeing and putting together perhaps a e-club or hybrid Rotaract club. So I know I spoke to Eloy about it, and the Vice President of Student Life is really interested. He wants to do Rotary at the campus. They did it a long time ago, and there's some interest from our young students who want to get involved with it. So I'm trying to get him. He wants to come on one of our meetings so we can sort of brainstorm and we can find out about him and he can find out about us. And his name is Al. And also he would, I think, like also to be a future E-Club Rotarian. So some interesting things there. And I think that could be something that really could be incredible. Not only to have Rotaract, but to have it as part of an E-Club. It's never been done before, and I think it really, really could work. So, and that's something that definitely could make the Rotarian, if we could do it well and get all our T's and I's crossed. So something we're looking into, and I mentioned to Eloy and a few other Rotarians. I think, Will, you know about it, our past district governor. So I think it'd be great. As I said, I'm just working with this Vice President of Student Life and to see moving forward with him, having come on, brainstorming, and seeing how we can move ahead with that. So that's exciting news. So with that, Karen, I'd love to turn it over to you, and then we're going to have Michael speak a little bit about what's happening up in his area. So just wanted to perhaps give a report on some of the things happening, news from Governor Eloy, and I know some of the things that you're working on. I know I'm on the the area presidents call with you. I think we have a call Monday, but some of the things that you do with the other area presidents and some of the local on-ground clubs. So maybe just we'll throw it over to you, and anything you'd like to talk about, we'd love to hear.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me? Okay. Just want to make sure, since I'm not very good at the technology. And actually, I think I'll be a little short because I want to hear what Michael has to say about Panama City also. Ask a few questions. Little bit of background. My name's Karen Nicolai. I'm now retired, but I was the clerk of circuit court in my county for 37 years. So, but I like retirement better. I've been in Rotary probably about 26, 28 years. Long time, but not been real active at the district level till lately. So Karen Van Sickle has, been dragging me into it. So that's a little bit about me. Let me see. As far as Rotary, I think I've been treasurer of my club about 20 some years. So I'm a CPA by trade. So that's my calling more than anything. I was president a few years ago. So had my turn. That's a hard job. I'll tell you, that's one of the hardest jobs I've had lately, trying to motivate people. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah. And Karen, what's your club? What's your current club?
The club is the Rotary Club of Brooksville, Brooksville, Florida, in Hernando County. And we have 3 clubs in Hernando. We have Spring Hill, and then we have Spring Hill Central, which Robin Schneider was a member of for many years. And she's just so wonderful. You're so lucky to have her. And then also some good friends of mine, Ashley Hoffecker is in your club, and she's a very close friend of mine. And it's a good fit because she comes to my club to visit, and also Trish Bazone is in the E Club.
Robin, we're not hearing you, Robin.
Sorry, Ashley is a rising star with us. The new generation, and we have some high hopes for her.
Yeah, she's just wonderful, and she really enjoys being in your club. So we're not going to steal her, I promise. In fact, I have some ideas about how we can approach. I think I have 2 or 3 now in my club that really can't attend meetings, and when they can't attend, they get disconnected. So I'm really thinking of trying to get them to move to the E Club and then just come visit us socially whenever they can, for lunch. So I think that's something we haven't really explored enough in our district, is working on, instead of losing people because they can't attend, having them move over to the E Club.
Well, Karen, anything that we can do, so Robin, myself, David, we love reaching out to, future members, certainly for E Club, and we'd be happy to talk to them and brainstorm and so forth. So anybody like that, please have them talk to us, and we'd be happy to give them a tour and talk them a little bit about a little more and see if it's going to be a good fit for all of us.
Yeah, and I was thinking if one of you guys could put something together, a one-pager, just to kind of explain your dues and the philosophy and some of the things you do, something very easy. I'll be glad to present them with that and give them contact information, because I think we lose a lot of people because they can't attend. And
Right.
None of us, the local club level, keep thinking of pushing them into not pushing, but giving them that option, which would really be good. Because I know, Robin, you go to a lot of club meetings. I mean, you don't just do E Club, you're everywhere. So probably most of you are. So that's an option that we can do, and maybe we should do more in the district level even, working with that.
Well, thanks for that, Karen. We appreciate that.
Okay, I'm just going to go over district events.
Sorry, while you're on that, Karen, you should be aware that we all talk about the young people and trying to get them into Rotary, but they don't have a whole lot of money. And recognizing that, our club has developed a reduced rate for people coming out of Rotaract at $35 a quarter, $140 a year, which equates to what we spend on their RI and district dues. So we limit the number to 6 or 8, but we want to take them in to establish that connection with Rotary.
I love that. And then as they get extra money later in life, then they start, giving to
Well,
projects. Yeah.
it's on the condition that, if they start making money or a pot of gold, that they can come up to the regular level, or they can do a fundraiser periodically to help the club. So
yeah,
that's it.
That's a good idea. That's a really good idea. Okay, so some of the district events, and if Will knows more than I do, since he's still so involved, he can come in. I know many of you live far away, but I wanted to mention our district conference, 6950 District Conference. It's going to be at the Plantation Inn in Crystal River. And if you've ever been to Crystal River, it's a gorgeous place. It's really nice. It's going to be right where the manatees are. And the big thing that Eloy and the district are pushing this year, and we're going to have some really major speakers, is on human trafficking. As you know, that was really presented in Atlanta. I know Robin knows that because he was up there, and Ashton Kutcher was one of the presenters. And so I'm looking forward to that. That's going to be April 26th through the 27th. They have a real nice hotel up there if anybody from the E-Club is interested in coming down. It should really be nice. Are there any questions about that? Nope.
No, thank you.
Okay. Some of these others you might not want to come down for, but I thought I'd mention them. We're going to have a Foundation Awards dinner at the Hilton Carillon, I think it's called, in St. Pete on November 29th. Also, the Bucks game, this is kind of exciting. Eloy worked with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and on December 9th, the proceeds of that are going to go for S4TL for anybody that goes. Some of you know that we used to use, was it the Greyhound racing, wasn't it, or the horse track racing? I forget which one, for S4TL to fund some good.
Greyhound. Yeah, that was the Greyhound track racing, and unfortunately, Rotarians didn't support that, and then the track went to other good charities. And
you know what? It's going to close in a few years if that amendment passed. But anyway, so this. He said that the Tampa Bay Bucks were very good about it and very excited, so it might be a better fit for us anyway. So if anybody wants to go to the December 9th game or buy tickets for anybody, it's going to go for S4TL to still support that.
Great.
Our presidents meet every month, so President Andy's been calling in. It took me a few months to get out to him. I just am not used to the E concept, so trying to get better at that and include him in what we're doing there. Are there any more questions, or Will, do you have anything more to say about what's going on in the district?
Yeah, let me unmute myself here. Yeah, one thing I did want to mention, at the most recent Rotary Leadership Institute, the two courses I taught, I provided E-Club cards to every participant.
Oh, good.
So a little promotion there for the E-Club, and people had a way to get in touch with us. So
cool.
Thanks, Will.
I'll send you some more, Will.
yes, I'm getting the word out there.
And Karen, Karen, before I want to introduce our treasurer, Treasurer Ray, and he's been our E-Club treasurer for quite a while. Great guy. So let him say a quick hello and anything you want to report, Ray.
Not really, no.
That was pretty fast.
We have money in the bank. What can I tell you?
That's good. We love hearing that. Will, anything else you wanted to say? I'm sorry to cut you off.
Yeah, I have to go to the bottom of the screen to unmute myself. No, I just wanted to thank Ray for doing such a great job, and Robin as well. And you guys funded Alicia here for RLI, and that was
Thank
her
you.
first of three that she's going to take over the next couple of years. So we're hoping she's going to be a rising star too. So thank you very much. And by the way, I just talked a few minutes ago to a former Rotarian and told him how great the E-Club was. So you never know.
Got him thinking.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
That's
Alicia,
how it happens. That's how it happens. One
Alicia, maybe we'll have you as a discussion leader in the next couple of years, I hope.
No, just maybe.
Okay.
Always possible.
Now that she's all trained, that's good. Just really fast, I was going to relay, and there's a topic I'd like to bring up and like to have you think about it, and I'm trying to get our clubs in our county to think about it, is how do we turn a member of a club into a true Rotarian? Because I think you all know, and you probably, each one of you remember when you became more than just a member, when you drank the Kool-Aid, you know, and it came into your heart. So we're trying to maybe put a list of things people should do to move to that kind of level and be a Rotarian. And once you got them, then you got them for life. So that's important to us. So if you think about any of those things, let me know. And you all have your stories.
If I could
go ahead, Will.
One thing, 97% of the Rotarians who have completed RLI stay with Rotary for the duration. So if you're looking for a retention tool, that is, I would recommend that as the #1 retention tool. And then there are many others.
That's a good point, because I've even only taken level 1, and it changed me when they talked about foundation. It was some of the best training I've had in government. But some other things that worked with me, and I just thought I'd bring them up, not as a retention tool necessarily, but something that even the E-Club could think about doing, especially when you were talking about your refurbishing of the computer room down in Dominica. A girl in my club, Gretchen Pingley, I don't know if any of you know her. Well, you might have known her because she was president of our club one time. She talked me into, actually made me go to Haiti when we bought a bus to send down there, and we were also doing a scholarship for somebody in a vocational school there. But she and I went to Haiti and did that through the Rotary Project and looked at it, and it really, and I travel a lot. That's what I love to do in retirement, but it really changed me. And then another member of my club and I went to India for the National Immunization Day. And you talk about becoming a Rotarian for life. We were walking through the slums, all of us Rotarians, and immunizing children for polio. So it's so cool. So I came back and then told our club all about the trip. And I wish I could show you some pictures, maybe another time. But then we talked 5 girls, and they were all young except for me. We went down to Guatemala to a school that we've helped and a dental clinic boat we bought. So my club's just enthused about doing Rotary kind of service trips. You know, we do a little bit of traveling and fun, but we also go to some of the projects we've funded and some of the things, and then you see it in action, and it's really exciting. So I would encourage you to think about something like that for some of your members. You know, if only 2 or 3 can go, it really does get them going.
Sounds great. Thank you, Karen. Anybody have any questions for Karen or anything, any follow-ups, anything you'd like her? David.
Karen, is there anybody talking about the upcoming convention in Hamburg in the district?
You know, I haven't heard too much. Will probably has a better thing on that. I think they were talking about it at district as a group of them are going. We went to, I saw Robin there, we went to Atlanta. We had 3 people from my club go to Atlanta because it was close too. But
Yeah,
that really made it.
I haven't heard much about that, except I understand Eloy was talking about getting a group together from the district. But, you know, really, I haven't heard much about that. I guess we will in the sweet by and by.
Alan talked about that a little bit, and he said that a lot of the hotel rooms are already sold out that are close to the center. So it's probably getting a little harder to get a hotel room.
Randy Seifeld, our new member from California, who was introduced by our member Harold Friend, who was in the International Scouting Association, and this guy is in scouting as well. He had dropped out of Rotary for a while, and he's come to us, but he mentioned he will be going to Hamburg. So, David, maybe you should call him. Randy Seifeld, okay? That's a German name, right?
Awesome. Anything else for Karen before we get to Michael? Will, Alicia? Ray?
No?
No? Okay. So, Karen, anything else?
I think that's all for now.
I'll probably have some things after we have our meeting on Monday. So
It's not this Monday. It's the 28th,
after
7th, 6th,
Thanksgiving.
like that. Yeah.
So I'll be able to report back to the club probably in December. Anything
Okay.
that you go over or whatever. So that will be good. So Michael, thanks for. Mike, you can unmute yourself, and we want to hear all of Derry, how you are and what's happening. And I see you have your right hand pooch with you.
I brought Pick Snowden up. He wanted to say hello to all our fellow
Hi.
Rotarians. So he's enjoying the day. He got cooped up today a little extra, so he wasn't happy about that. But hello.
Well, welcome, Michael, and we can't wait to hear about you and who you are and what's happening. So thanks for being with us tonight, and thanks that you're safe and what's happening. We'd love to find out.
Well, first and foremost, thank you to the club for the contributions you made. Those dollars have directly impacted people who've been affected by Hurricane Michael. So we're greatly appreciated. Robin and I were actually able to connect up the first round. And then the second check they wrote along with a check from my club that I was part of back in Pensacola, we deposited that into the Diocese of Central Gulf Coast. That actually helps to multiply those dollars back into the impacted area. So we're very, very grateful for that. I would, there's a host of things you can carry on about the storm other than to say it's a mess. I actually drove over to Apalachicola today doing some diocesan work for the Episcopal Church. And went through, I didn't do the Highway 98 route through Mexico Beach, even though that route's now open. That just didn't make sense trying to get caught in that traffic. But good parts of the eastern end of 6940 have been beat up pretty bad. Port St. Joe, good example. The president of the Port St. Joe Club is actually an Episcopal priest as well, and they've been busy doing a lot of things in their community. And so I would definitely sum it up as a mess. The things I'd probably share with you, and there's a couple of websites or a particular website I'll get to you at the end. You can look at it, and I think it helps you get some really good data as to what needs are shaping up to be, and then how either individuals or Rotary clubs or districts can pick and choose how they may want to support some activity when that time becomes right for the clubs. The first thing I think I'd probably offer, and maybe some of this is obvious, is that without getting overworked on sports analogies, this is definitely, Robin can relate. He probably just finished up a marathon. It's a marathon. This is not a sprint that these folks that we're all going through here. It never is. The folks in Southeast and Southwest Florida saw that. Obviously, the folks in Puerto Rico understand that completely. So it will be events and support and activities over many, many months that will make a difference, particularly as it relates to the swath from Hurricane Michael. There's a website that Bay County's updating every day. It's called recoverbaycounty.com. Recover Bay County, all spelled out in all one word, recoverbaycounty.com. And just below there, a couple of their updates, they have basically a situation report. And that's a really good snapshot, and it's done on a daily basis except on Sundays, of kind of where things are. Information like the 53,000 people who've applied for federal assistance, how many of those are qualifying for some type of temporary housing need, which is a significant problem, particularly in Bay County. I would imagine that's going to be a problem for most of the impacted area, and how they're attempting to address that. So I give that to you to look at. It's kind of interesting when you load recoverbaycounty.com. it's actually hosted by the Escambia County Emergency Management Agency over in Pensacola. They had their big command bus over, actually just as quick as they could post landfall. So that's where it's being hosted. So if you're an internet geek and you see, why is this thing going to Escambia County, that's why. So that's a good piece of information that's out there. Another thing I'd share with you, I talked to a colleague who's up in Mariana, and he's a good old Alabama fella, talks kind of slow. That I grew up, he says, and I grew up in Mobile and up around Gulf Shores, and I know hurricanes. Then he goes on to basically says he had no idea that he would be living in a town called Mariana and have a Category 3, the equivalent of a Category 3, go over the top of him. That's just how far-reaching the storm actually is. So I babble on that about just to basically say what our club has done, other clubs are doing, both in 6940, 6950, others throughout Florida, is making a difference. It will always make a difference. And again, it's all about the long haul. Robin asked a little bit about the church. My wife's an Episcopal priest. We did sustain damage. I think we're looking at about 10 churches in the swath that have been impacted by the Episcopal faith. And I can tell you where we live in Panama City's an area called St. Andrews. And there's a block. Our church is a block behind, and then on the front block is Catholic Church, Baptist Church, and Methodist Church. And all of them have sustained significant damage. We've been fortunate, and I think most of them have been fortunate through insurance to be able to engage quickly. I mentioned to Robin, we've completed emergency protective measures and temporary repairs, which is basically tarping everything that's not moving and getting it to where as it continues to rain, it won't get any worse. Although I talk about the Episcopal faith, there's not very many folks who are on the east side of that Hathaway Bridge who weren't significantly impacted by the storm in one way or another. I think the last thing I'd probably share with you, and I can probably dance around any questions, is I haven't been able to connect specifically with some of the clubs here in town. I know Panama City Beach has been meeting. I don't know about the Emerald Coast. I believe they're meeting because they're on the other side of Hathaway Bridge. I've got some contacts in some of the other clubs here in town, and hope to this week be able to kind of touch base and see how they're doing and what they're doing and how they're meeting, and I'm sure they're trying to meet. The reason I say that is one of the things that we did with the initial funds that the club provided was we got some food for some emergency workers and disaster relief folks who came over and helped basically clear some paths out of some people's yards. They can actually either get to their car or get to their street or whatever. And it was a little bit left over, so we actually used it the next day following a church service. And my wife asked, well, how do we want to do this? And I said, we're going to do it like a Rotary meeting. We're going to gather, we're going to put some food out, and a bunch of people are going to eat. And there was a lot of discussion and a lot of just catching up with everybody, just like you'd see in a brick and mortar Rotary meeting, believe it or not. And I even joked with them that this reminded me of a Rotary meeting just because we're eating and we're checking up on each other. And we're talking about the things that matter, which is, our own lives and how it's been impacted by the storm. So there's definitely a Rotary impact happening because of the support that you folks have done and other clubs are doing as well. I'll pause and take a breath and see if anybody has any questions, or if there's something specific someone would like me to try and either make up an answer or actually find an answer for.
Yeah, Mike, where are people living?
It's a good question. They still have a shelter open at one of the high schools over actually on the Panama City Beach side. There's a lot of the folks of the I think their number was in the thousand, a little over 1,000 plus families, which equates to much more people, are either in shelter, living in one of the voucher provided hotels if it's available, which early on was kind of tough here in the Panama City Beach area. Or they're double and tripling up with family, and that's a lot what's happening. There's a news piece out there that's floating around fairly recent about tent cities that are forming up here in Panama City. It's not clear if those folks are actually impacted disaster victims and survivors from our area, or if they're actually workers who've come down to help in the recovery process, and that's just where they're staying. So that's not uncommon. We saw that in Ivan back in 2004, back in Pensacola. So I do know that folks are trying to track down, that specifically what's happening. I think their number will ultimately grow. They being the feds, FEMA's number will ultimately grow with the number of temporary housing assistance going to be needed, just because of the sheer volume of damage to individual homes, apartments, and so forth in Panama City, as well as mobile manufactured homes.
Mike, I had a quick question. This Recover Bay County entity, was that an existing long-term recovery organization prior to the storm? Did they have LTROs prior to the storm in the area, or was that created after the fact?
The website was created after the fact. It was a mechanism to get information out to folks. So it's hosted, because it just happened to be hosted off of the Escambia Emergency Management site, but it's actually being updated by the Bay County Emergency Services folks. Many of the counties, I know Bay County specifically, have had discussions prior to this storm about long-term recovery and how do you do that. And I do know that, as an example, post-Ivan, you had a nonprofit form up, Rebuild Northwest Florida. Robin, you may have heard a little bit about them back post-Ivan in 2004. There are organizations that are contemplating that direction as well in Bay County, specifically in Panama City. And again, that sole purpose is to try and meet the needs that won't be met through federal programs, local or state programs, or other voluntary organizations that are around for the long haul. But specifically, that point, that information was post landfall, and the sole purpose was just to be able to feed the beast, if you will, with information.
Right. Yeah, Mike. Reason I asked is that I'm on the board of our county, Recover Pinellas, for Pinellas County, on their long-term recovery organization, and we've now combined with 3 counties, Pasco, Pinellas, and Hillsborough, to have an entity called Recover Tampa Bay. So our plan is to combine resources on a large scale for, as you say, after all the first responders have left, and there'll be additional recovery. And I sit on that board as a representative of the Rotary District, so that we can tie into clubs who want to assist in those efforts.
Excellent. I would imagine you'll see similar actions, both whether it's combined within counties. Some of the surrounding counties are relatively small, but for that matter, just the sheer number of municipalities, the more resources you bring to the table, the better options you have of being able to actually solve some problems. So I would anticipate
weather is not going away.
What was that? I'm sorry.
So the catastrophic weather is not going away.
It's not, and I reminded myself today as I got some news about the rectory that we're living in. We're day 34 after Category 4, plus landfalling storm. So things are getting better every day. But I do. My previous experience just reminds me, as well as being affected by this storm specifically, we like to call ourselves survivors, but you have to be a victim to be a survivor as well. And no storm is the same. No person's response to a storm is the same. And while we like to think we can go from victim to survivor quick, sometimes it takes longer for each of us to get to that recover mode, the survivor mode. And today's day like today is a good example that sometimes I just have to slip back in, and I need to be a victim for a little while and just step back and go, geez, this, you know, pardon my language, it sucks, but we're going to get better every day. So I think that's the mental impact that storms like this, events like this happen are incredible. We're obviously seeing that in California as well with the devastation with the fires they've had. So,
speaking of the impact, what about the students and the education? How are the kids?
Are they continuing to go to school?
Yeah, schools reopened began to open back the first week in November, which was incredible.
Yeah.
And they've been adding schools, complexes since, the ones that can. Some of the private schools, there's a lot of charter schools in Bay County, but some of the private schools are opening as well. They are in double session, except for elementary school. Elementary is not in double session.
Yeah.
So they're back, which is important, which is an incredible lift to actually happen and to maintain. But in a simple scenario, that's at least breakfast and lunch for every kid in the public system that's happening right now that wasn't happening immediately following the storm.
The normalcy is a little bit of normalcy is in that respect is good.
It is the new normal, as we like to say. But yeah, that's happening. Got several folks and colleagues that I've reached out to see, you know, how are things going, if you will, because it's students are not necessarily going to the school that they were going to before landfall, just because of either school choice or transportation issues. But schools are in, and that's an important, if nothing else, they get some sense of new normal.
Yep.
Breakfast and lunch every day through the week, and parents an opportunity to be able to take care of things other than, you know, their kids, which they've had to do for almost 25 days post landfall.
Michael, last week were most people able to go out and find a polling place, or how did that work out? I'm just kind of curious if people were allowed to. Sorry for the noise.
No, that's all right. That's a good question. I don't know if Robin said previously, I was involved in the emergency management business in Pensacola, and then I wanted to go do something a little more calm and less exciting. So I was chief of staff for the election official in Escambia County. So I do speak that language. The local supervisor, Mark Anderson's a good friend of mine. He did an excellent job with the team. They didn't have precinct voting on election day. What they set up was, it's either 5 or 6, I think it was 6, very large mega voting sites throughout the county. And it started prior to election day. And I think it was about a week's worth, maybe a little bit more than a full week, where you didn't have to go to your precinct. You could go to any one of these sites and cast your ballot. And when it's all said and done, it worked. It required a fair amount of assistance, if you will, from a standpoint of giving locals the authority in the impacted area to do those kind of things. Because in Florida, we do early voting, which is, 10 to 15 days prior to election day. You can get a vote, you can get a ballot by mail, or you can go to your precinct on election day. And getting something in the mail post landfall wasn't going to be very successful in the impacted areas. And actually going to your precinct wasn't going to work either, because it probably wasn't there in many cases, as they found out in Bay County. So they were able to get some governor's orders to help make that happen, and they pulled that off. The Bay County was well in line with the turnout as it relates to the rest of the state, which was incredible. And if you're following local news, Florida's doing a fun little recount for a couple races, and Bay specifically has been able to accomplish that too. So folks were able to adapt and be able to participate if they so choose. But it certainly had an impact. It always will.
Thanks, Michael. Karen, I know you probably have a couple questions. I know we can't see you, but I'm sure you might like to ask Michael a couple things.
I would love to, yeah. We have one of the members of our club. She's a local prosecutor here, and she's been very instrumental she's gone up to Sandy in New York. When there's a hurricane, she runs to help. And she's doing some work up there, and she started a Santa program. We're collecting toys for the kids up there because we figure their Christmas probably will be, I know that comes at the bottom of what people need, but sometimes you got to think ahead and make their life a little normal. So she's collecting a lot of toys, but I was going to ask you if you would be a good resource for her to give to them, and then you could get them to families that really need them.
I could be a resource. I always remind folks that I am a disaster victim, disaster survivor. So there's a lot of things happening. I think what I could do possibly is to connect with some of the other Rotary clubs here in town, because I've made some contact with them, and see what would be the best way to try and deliver that.
Okay.
Yeah, I can certainly be a conduit to those who can make that happen.
Okay, I know she's working with some others, but if you have somebody in particular that we could deliver some of the toys to and they could get it out, that'd be wonderful. So share your contact.
Sure.
Anybody else have some questions for Michael?
Andy, I just wanted to mention that everybody may know, we have had one other Rotarian, Janice Klein, go up to the impacted area and help as well. And we've been supportive of her efforts. And she lives somewhere on the west coast of Florida. I'm on the east coast. The west coast has always been a mystery to me. I get the counties confused, but I think she's over on the west coast.
Yeah, she lives down Sarasota. She has a motorhome, and she went up there to distribute goods in connection with Spring Hill or Crystal River or some club down there were putting a $200 package together, and she was taking it up to distribute it, and we matched that. It was a Walmart package of necessities. She has gone back down again, and I'm not aware that she has gone back up to the area. But she did take her motorhome up to, was it Gatlinburg, that they had some fires or tornadoes a couple of years ago. And she lived in her motorhome for about 3 weeks up there, helping sort donated stuff so that it could be distributed out. This is Janice Klein, I remember. Yeah, a good lady.
Karen, if you get a chance to talk to Eloy, I would just think about something. I mean, what Michael's saying and everybody, this would be an incredible thing to get all these pictures and stories and contact RI and the Rotarian. I couldn't think of a more wonderful article to do on what Rotary is doing, individual Rotarians are doing, with Hurricane Michael. I think, unfortunately, we're going to have another incredible, situation in the next, couple months with these awful fires in California and the impact that's creating in the West. But I think this is just such an incredible story that most people don't get to see. And if we could share it and whatever, and maybe ask Eloy if there's anything we can do, or maybe he might want to spearhead it, or
get with the director from 6940, the Panhandle. They could put together a really good article. That's a great idea.
Yeah, I think that would be great. Before, again, Michael and everybody's living through it now. And we have the pictures, the stories. I mean, the motor home with Janet, what she does, and Michael's incredible stories, and the toys that you're talking about, Karen, Christmas toys. I think for, to show Rotary in its best, and what our Rotarians do in the hour of need in Florida, I think everybody would like to see all around the world.
That it's not just government that comes to the help of people. Yeah.
Exactly. And remember, we always hear, in the news that the news and everybody leaves, and then it's still the people who are suffering in the Bay Area, in Puerto Rico, even still in the Keys. So they're all our friends and Rotary brothers and sisters. So yeah. I think it would be a great thing to honor them and to have the pictures and the stories to do it. But we just need the right avenue. Maybe even Will knows some of the good contacts for that, because the story needs to be told, and I think everybody would like to see that.
Yeah.
We talk about the needs elsewhere, and Puerto Rico is a shining example. In Dominica, the kids are still in school in tents down there because the repairs have not been carried out to all the schools. They have problems getting the resources in, getting people to do the work. So, yeah, Mother Nature can be pretty cruel at times.
Indeed, indeed.
So Andy has disappeared, so I'm not sure what else we have. David, do you have any pieces of information? Anything with your fishing group fellowship?
Yeah, we're going to build out a website. We currently have a Facebook group that we use for people to report on fishing and tournaments, things of that nature. And my nephew transferred a website that we had purchased from one internet service provider to another. So we're now going to build it out and try making it a little more useful. And insofar as Hamburg, I'll contact the California member of our club. Also, Eloy had given me the members from our district who were going, and I'll see if there's anybody who wants to talk about Hamburg in the group.
Good.
And then on top of that, Andy remembers Marietta Westphal from Hamburg, who'd make up at the Bal Harbor Club. She's one of the hosts in the host committee in Hamburg, and she offered to do a Zoom meeting. So we'll invite the people who are going. We'll invite people from the district that they want to go to hear about what's happening in Hamburg, and maybe answer some questions about a Rotary International Convention for those who haven't been before.
That'd be awesome. Great. Thanks, David. That would be really, really good.
BD, that's all, folks.
That would be good. Karen, one thing we were working on a little with past AG Karen, and I'd like to continue on this year because I saw we have quite a few clubs who are, for the last Rotary year, will be receiving the presidential citation. So I want to work with you on behalf of the club, the E-Club, to see if we could try to get that honor to our E-Club this year. Start a little bit early. I know we've done a lot of things, so maybe we could brainstorm on that together. And
I love it. I'll put on the agenda for next 2 weeks, okay. And, when we have president's meeting.
Right, because we would like to do it, and we don't have a great big club, and one of the reasons we didn't do it last year is the 80-20 rule. It's really 20% of the people that you see here doing the work of everybody. So I'm trying to change that, where everybody has a responsibility, everybody steps up, and everybody does something so we can share in the presidential citation together. And it's great because this year it's somebody that we all know. I know, speaking for David and I know Will, but we know President Barry, know him for years from the Bahamas. So sort of like a close friend, somebody, close. We don't normally have an American Rotary president that we really know, but this is certainly one. So I think it would be great in his year to really step up and get that honor. So I just want to let you know that I want to work on that on behalf of the club, and see if this is going to be my, well, next year, my last year. So I'd really like to get this for the club. And David has a question.
Andy, do you have the 2018-19 President's Citation listing for this time?
Yes, I do.
Perfect. Thank you.
I do that. I know Karen has it, so I don't think it's changed too much. I know President Barry has a few tweaks in some of the different areas, but it's certainly doable. I just think we need to work on that sooner than later.
I'm so glad you brought that up, because that's some of the things you wait for the last quarter to think about, and by then it's too late. You got to plan those things. So that's great.
Okay, so
I'll go ahead and do that, and we'll talk about it on the 26th when presidents meet. Maybe we can all have a little contest.
Oh, that'd be great. It'd be great if all your area clubs get it. I know we have great scholars and statesmen here, from David and Robin and Ray, and certainly past Governor Will and Alicia. So we have a great group here, and Michael, that really could work on this. And Robin has his hand
You have
up.
Ashley Hoffecker. She'll do anything.
Oh, great.
Be happy to help.
Andy, we need to.
What we need to do, wrap it up?
No, we need to appoint somebody to head up the citation effort. If it's going to be done.
Well, you know what? I'd like Ashley to do it, and a little nudging from Karen would be great.
Maybe I'll have her do our club too.
Okay. Oh, good. Well, you know, if she can do one, she could help us with another, and she's young and she can really, she's a go-getter. So I think this would be great for us. And as president, I would like to nominate Ashley to do it. And I'm sure everybody will say, we'll have a second and a yes and go for it. So Karen, if you could just tell her, we would love to have her see if she would like to do that for us.
Hey, wait a minute. I got to tell her.
Yeah.
No, I'll tell her.
Good delegation there, Andrew.
Thank you.
Separately, I'm having a conversation with Ashley that might take her out of that loop. So I think you might need to be looking for somebody else to get into it.
Okay.
And I'm looking at the Miller couple over there, sitting comfortable in their chairs, sipping his beverage of choice.
Just coffee.
Just coffee.
I think Will might be Alicia might be eminently suitable. So
well, Will, let me ask you, in your governor year, do you remember how many clubs had presidential citations when you were governor at all?
You know, I want to say it was close to 50%, 47% maybe.
Good.
But many of them fell short only by things like, you know, inducting one more woman, or something that they would have had to work on sometime prior.
Right.
So, you know, in general, if to meet the presidential citation, it's not difficult if a Rotary Club is doing all those things that a Rotary Club ought to be doing anyway.
Right.
But there's sometimes zingers, I'll call them, that individual presidents put in that, you know, sometimes a little bit more difficult to for certain clubs to achieve. So I remember a number missed. I think they had to grow membership by +1 if they were like under 30 members to start with, and then +2 if they were over, something of that sort. And that just became difficult with attrition. The clubs didn't have a good membership plan, and therefore they that one thing they couldn't meet. Everything else might have been perfect except for that one item. So, however, what we weren't told during my year, as I recall, was that the president decided to have levels of presidential citation accomplishment. There was like platinum, gold, and bronze, you know, and so a lot of clubs gave up early when they knew they couldn't achieve. They'd be missing one item, then they didn't even try for the rest of them. And had they tried, they could have gotten presidential citation bronze. So I don't know how they're planning to do that this time, but
check into it.
what we you can certainly look at that. I have not seen the criteria. I really haven't been following that, but I'm certainly sure it's online, right?
Yeah, it is online. And Will, if we can get your help this year, that would be awesome. I know you two are new at the club, but if something that we could, you could help spearhead or work with me on, I really appreciate it.
Sure. Obviously it'll fall. It needs to fall on more than just the two of us, but
No, of course.
I'd be happy
Yeah.
to help, Andy.
Oh, thank you. We appreciate it. Thank you so
Cool.
much. So, Karen, that's nice. We have some good help already, and we will start working on that. And we can talk at our next president's meeting and see how we can do to forward that on. As we get more members as president, I will give them tasks.
Okay.
So we'll do that. By the way, I learned a lot of that from my dear friend David Garner. He just said, give them tasks and whatever. And I learned when I was president years ago, just tell somebody out in the parking lot when you walk into the car what you want them to do. So I learned that years ago as a club president. So I can't.
It's a lot better than ask volunteers. That doesn't always work
Right.
when you just
But
ask.
Karen, I don't have a virtual parking lot right now in the virtual world, but we'll have to think of something else. But
President Andy could send me an electronic copy of the citation for this year. That'd be very helpful.
yeah, I'll get it from online and I'll get that to you, Will.
Great. Okay. Thank you.
Cool.
Robin, anything else on?
I think that's it, except to recite the 4-way test and close the meeting.
Okay, so let's do that. Karen, can we get you? We can't see you, but can we get you to lead us with the 4-way test?
I hope I know it without look. I never look in the club, but now that it is, okay. Is it the truth?
Right.
Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned?
Will
But
and
Bill-
better friendships will be beneficial to all concerned. Will it be fun?
Just need our dog over there, Michael, to give a bark.
We are adjourned.
Call it a night.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everybody. We'll see you soon.
Yes.
Thank you so much, and I will see you soon. And have a great Thanksgiving, everybody. And thank you.
Bye-bye.
Stay. Take care.
Bye.